of Republican Marxism that has taken over the GOP. It's just really odd to me, is it not for you guys?
Oh
Um,
no, it definitely it stands out to us, and when you try to point it out to MAGA Inc. or anyone that considers themselves a Trump follower and part of MAGA, they don't get it. You know what I mean? It's like, they ignore it, or they have this, like
You're
they try to,
jealous.
yeah,
You
they
know,
try to
why?
avoid it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I mean, not to rant, but you cannot sit there and tell me that I have to cheer on and applaud members of Congress for voting for the FISA warrant app extension, the endless Patriot Act nightmare that we've gone through, while at the same time supporting endless foreign war that we were told it's not going to happen again, and then more defense contractor spending. I mean, at a certain point, do you guys want us to just wear a skin suit of globalism and that'll make you happy? I'm not sure.
so yeah, let me ask you this, because you've worked within the MAGA realm to a certain extent. When did it go off the rails? Like, because this version of MAGA versus the first version of MAGA, it is night and day. So
It
what do you think happened to them?
Well, the parts of MAGA that helped Trump get elected were people like me. We did the United States Cannabis Coalition. We've always been strong, hard line, no red flag laws on gun rights. And then Trump, he kind of broke the system, but in a political, society of corruption like we have in the United States, two parties only, the system was broken, the Bushes lost control, and all of these grifters and former theater kids and politically, I would say, retarded people caught control, and then they are masquerading around as, in one moment, they're having wild, rampant orgies and sex and doing all the drugs, but then in the next moment, people like me and I think a lot of you, when we say, "Hey, no, we have to make a moral stand. We're not doing more war," they say, "Oh God, look at that drug addict or that homosexualist." It's the history of the world. Anytime a major political party controlling system is broken like that, it's a race where the citizens grab control or the establishment grabs control masquerading as the citizens. And that's, I think, where we found ourselves now.
Yep. And all right, so not. Sorry. If you could introduce everyone to yourself. Sorry, me and Marcus are struggling today, but
Hey, it's the palm tree
yeah,
pollen.
pollen, pine tree pollen. Anyways,
Mhm.
tell everybody your background in investigative journalism, people you work with. If you want to talk a little bit about the FISA stuff and how you've kind of been railroaded through the justice system, if that applies to your background, feel free.
Absolutely. So I'll give everyone the most recent example. USAID, a gross abuse of taxpayer funds, and we've heard about all the other stuff. But let's hit on the free speech issue. I was the one who discovered how USAID sent money to the Stanford Internet Observatory, and this was a project of Stanford University. And they're the ones who created the white paper, the basis of censorship and killing free speech in this country that was given to the social media giants, that was given to corporations, that was given to governments locally, federally, at state level to snuff out any opposing viewpoints. Before that, did we want Andrew Gillum, that Marxist, to win in Florida? No, I bullhorned him for 4 months straight and destroyed the recount theft that he was trying to do. And again, I'm all about free speech and your independent liberty and rights. And it wasn't popular when I stepped forward and said, no, LGBT individuals do need protections in the workplace. You can't violate their rights based on discrimination in the forms of religious, sexuality, or anything else. Now, there has to be some safeguards, like we're not having sex with children, we're not doing that weird stuff. And that's one problem I think we have with some of these conservatives is they want to live a very liberal lifestyle socially and sexually, but then they want to violate rights And look, I'm the guy who exposed genderqueer and started that whole, I would say book burning that was right, because you cannot tell me as a taxpayer you're paying for books and you're giving it to my child in fifth grade and you're violating my rights as a parent and say, oh, don't worry about it. They're just talking about blowjob. They're just talking about anal stretching. This is not okay. And it really is just a disaster because we're fighting wars on all fronts. And I didn't go whine when Mueller dragged me to the grand jury. I paid for my own stuff in terms of the legal expenses. I didn't whine when J6 select committee member Stephanie Murphy wanted to run her trap and say, we need to call Roger Stone and Jacob Engels. I didn't whine when all of this stuff happened to me. And I don't really want to engage in the whining. People have told me, Jacob, you don't whine enough. Well, what does that get? I'm going to whine so I get something without hard work or without me putting some type of work product forward. That's not libertarian. It's not conservative. It's not Republican. It's not MAGA or America First in the true sense. That's called lazy victim mentality. So that's why, the Grifter Olympics Political Action Committee has been started, and I'm just advising it because you guys have grifted enough. You don't do anything. You don't win elections. You just grift and grift and grift and grift. If you want a social safety net, if you want a taxpayer funded lifestyle, go ahead. Just admit you're Marxist. Go ahead and admit that you hate the Constitution, but don't keep playing these games.
So when you use, I just keep going on the grifting page. When you use the term grifter, is that synonymous for people that don't really believe limited government, America first, but they're playing the game? They're trying to, they actually believe in big government and big spending and big taxes, or do they even believe anything politically, and they're just in it for the grift? They're trying to make their money and get while the getting is good. I mean, could you kind of
Yes,
define
absolutely.
grifter? If you want to name drop, go ahead. I don't care. I've seen some of your stuff calling out, some of them. If you want to, that's up to you. But define it, let people know what you mean, and
Sure.
attack it if you don't mind.
Sure. So a grifter would be somebody who is a con artist, somebody who promises one thing, takes cash, and delivers nothing, and often might even work to accomplish the exact opposite. But what we have right now is it's influencer retardation culture powered by the internal grift with these people. If they get the retweets, then they don't have to own up to the hypocrisy of them saying one thing, doing another. So Scott Pressler is probably one of the most effective grifters in the entire United States. He used to be a volunteer of mine. I've helped him get jobs on campaigns decade ago. And he's found out that running out there and saying, hey, everybody, it's me, Scott Pressler. I'm going to go to Texas and I'm going to go to Virginia. And the car that I have, the wheel fell off, so I need money now for this. There is nothing accomplished. He's not won an election, which is fine. Dude, just admit that you're an influencer and get on with it. But when you con fixed income seniors, when you con people who are struggling to get by, but they're so desperate for somebody to do something about the corruption in this country, that is inherently evil and it's wrong.
So Scott Pressler, specifically, most people in the Republican Party would probably know him as the guy that claims that he helped Pennsylvania turn red or registered a bunch of Republicans in Pennsylvania, and that's what helped Trump get elected and reelected. Is there any truth in him? And I get what I'm going to go to Texas and we're going to register voters. I don't know if legally he could say register Republicans. I think he can. I don't know political action committee funding and this, that, and the other. But isn't that kind of his thing, his grift? We're going to go get people registered Republican to vote. Is that kind of his
Yes. And
bag?
look, Scott had a normal job with the Virginia GOP many years ago before there was an anal stretching event that he filmed and recruited people through Craigslist and published as a gay pornographer. And that's okay. I don't care about that. You have your right to do that, Scott. But what you have done is not accomplish anything. You posit a problem. You promise to solve the problem. You stuff your pockets and stuff your gullet and drink champagne and have Lara Trump pay for you all expenses. But then at the same time, you don't accomplish the goal. And then you ask people in person, I need grocery, I need a new car, he's had about 5 SUVs over and over again. They're always new. He loses one, I don't know. But that is somebody who doesn't take it seriously. At one point, he did. But some of these people get so consumed by the grift, by the attention. These are all theater kids. They're all retreads who didn't get their role as lead in Brigadoon or whatever kind of nonsense that they wanted. So now it's their time to shine, and Fox News feeds it. Even right wing media feeds it because they're threatened by them wielding their retweet ability, the podcast reachability, and I don't mean to be gross, but how is it that who I don't wear a feather boa, I'm not, hey everybody, it's me, Jacob. I'm not taking photos, humping somebody against a wall at a PA registration event, and I've never done that. But for years, Jacob, the congressman is so thankful for you having get elected, but because of the homosexual thing, he doesn't really feel that it's appropriate to have an in-person meeting. Well, wait a second. I guess I should just have an anal stretching event in a GOP office, and maybe I can be elevated, but I don't want it, and that's not the point. The point is the hypocrisy, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, it's high time to deal with it because if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would agree with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur and some of the Young Turks more than I agree with whatever this MAGA or America First is, I would have told you you've lost your mind.
Well, I want to point out one fact here. I think Tubb is really, really missing out on the anal stretching tonight. And I'm kind of upset for him not being here for that. But that's one of the main theories that I have about the duopoly. Well, there's a few. I wrote this little meme where I said, and even Eric said it kind of flew past him at first. Low IQ people can see the differences between Democrats and Republicans. And Eric, you said that.
Well, I was like, what, low IQ? I was like, but then I was like, oh, uniparty. There really is no
There's no difference.
I mean, no major difference, right?
No.
Republicans and Democrats agree on 99% of government spending because if they didn't, bills wouldn't get passed through Congress so easily, right? Bad bills wouldn't get passed.
The FISA thing has passed every Democrat-led House since its first inception. So, for Democrats to vote against it now only shows you where they stand on the issue when they're not in power. But when they are in power, they vote for it. How do Americans not see, like Jacob was alluding to, the hypocrisy? Because one thing I want to point out, all these people that are in these the president's cabinet and Congress and the Senate, a lot of them are Ivy League educated. And, you really have, if you're in a public school, you really have to buy into the public school education to get into an Ivy League school. If you're at a private school or you're a legacy, your position was already bought. But there's, you go down the list, Ted Cruz, what's his name? Pete the drunk in the Department of Defense. All these people went to Ivy League schools. These aren't dumb people, but they count on stupid Americans to keep them in power. And it's just amazing to me that with all the information that Americans are inundated with, they still choose these intelligent people that are telling them stupid shit.
Right.
So
But you know why they do?
Huh.
Because when it becomes so freaking insurmountable. You've got this news anchor saying this person's good. You've got your friends saying, "Oh my God, I just love that Pete Hegseth. He's so moral, ethical, and just." And Ted Cruz, and Dan Crenshaw and Liz Cheney and whomever else. It's insurmountable, and they've stolen the march on us, guys. Double pincer move, envelopment. We're screwed because we're trying to fight back. But guess what? I've never been somebody who's been like, well, I've got to say this, and I get cocktail party, or I get Trump DC, or I get this. In fact, I've been so self-destructive and not wanting that from these people that then I get labeled crazy. Ooh, guess what, guys? I went to a nice school. I have a fancy degree, but I don't know how I am somehow less retarded and morally and ethically deficient than you are. But I think I do know because you made the choice that power, prestige, and selfish self enrichment was more important. Um, I guess I'm just really bad businessman, and I didn't accept my invite to the Grifter Olympics. But I never will, and I don't think any of you would, because then they'd take our voice, and we have to have their hand shoved up our anal cavity and puppeteer what we're saying. And freedom and liberty is too important to me just in my personal life, but to showcase to others that you can take my contracts away, you can attempt to put me in jail, you can do all of this nonsense. And my little trip to Fox News, I never wanted it, and you can't tease it with me now. So I don't want to have a Joker mentality. But you know what they told me? I heard some feedback from people. They said, Jacob, it's a little crazy. You got to get a haircut, trim your beard, put on something a little more proper and a plum. Well, do you see this, guys? Look, I dug out my Ralph Lauren Q-zip. You see the
Yeah,
tie?
I was
yeah,
kind of upset about that. You came all
yeah.
spiffy, and I'm
Showed
just
up very
worried.
dapper, and here we are. And
No, it's to showcase their bullshit. Guys, now that I have this on, do you listen to me? Do I get my invite? No, I won't, because you're playing games and I don't want it. But that's the thing. We need to keep doing what we're doing. Support each other, share each other's podcasts, and get out of our own way sometimes. And I'm going to stop talking because I'm starting to get in my way. So I apologize.
I was just gonna say, I like the outfit, but respect for showing up with sunglasses already on without us
Yeah,
having to.
yeah.
But I mean,
That
like, because we always wear them, breaks up the facial recognition AI software. You know what I mean? So a little bit,
indeed.
Eventually, we have to start painting grids on our face. But go ahead.
All right. I wanted to get to the Florida governor's race. And if we could go over the candidates one time, because I know there's the guy with the catchy comments, and then there's the
Yep.
Byron McCoonels.
Byron Donalds?
Byron
Byron holds
Coonels.
the gap to the side
Yeah.
like this. But
Yeah, Byron Coonels. That's his name, right?
Coonels. It's Byron
Donalds.
Oh,
Donalds.
my bad. Byron Sambo Donalds. And then who else is there? Who else you guys got going on there?
You have Paul Renner, Speaker of the House currently. He's about as interesting as watching paint dry, and he's establishment. It's a no-go. You have one real kind of libertarian-minded candidate, Rachel Rodriguez. She actually helped represent me in a few cases defending my free speech rights. She's trying hard to break the system.
Nobody's talking about her. Nobody.
Nobody's
I
talking
mean,
about her. And
yeah.
I'm trying to find a way, because it doesn't matter if I talk about backdoor Byron, the MAGA. Um, there's another word for it, but I guess you guys could maybe get the point there. But he,
Anal stretching.
yes, anal stretching. But then you have Fishback, who he's kind of the movement leader, and he's turning people out at a rate I've never seen. And he's adopting an I don't give a fuck attitude, which, look, I don't care if 2 years ago he might have not had some of the views he has now, because we're allowed to grow as people. And maybe he got so ticked off with what the hell is going on that he said, this makes no sense. I got to look more into shit. And
Yeah.
that should be respected. Somebody shouldn't have to be a nun or a priest their whole life. And if they aren't, then all of a sudden you're discounted. And the only other one would be Jay Collins, who, it's kind of weird. The guy is sometimes like dripping of establishment. And then other times when they said he didn't have any money and he was going to drop out, the dude gets in his car and does a live stream and says, fuck you. 0% chance I drop out, and 100% I just terrorize you people until I get the nomination or I don't. So I it's like there's something inside of all these people that could be good, but Byron Donalds, $60 million, and where's that money gone?
To his
Uh,
tap dancing lessons.
yes, or his wife's charter schools, or
Uh,
Susie Wiles and James Blair have not grifted enough. They really need more. Susie had her diagnosis, and she's coming back to Florida. And James, he had a kid, and now he has to come back and parent and advise the president from afar. Well, wait a second, you two. You promoted all this nonsense, all of this anti-American, endless foreign war bullshit, and then you get to just be like, I grifted enough. Let me go back down to Florida and grift 30, 40 million off of Byron, or do this, that, or the other. And, that's honorable. It's integrity. It's not. But people don't call it out because, Jacob, you're jealous. Or this program, you guys must just be Marxist, undercover liberty and freedom haters.
maybe
No.
Eric. I don't know.
What?
I want to get to this comment real quick. Are people that live in California, are they not allowed to talk trash? We are ordained as being the fourth largest economy in the world to talk shit about any damn state we want to, because there's not one state that can match our economic output. So there you have it. And I
But
just want
there are 49 states that beat your freedom output.
well, I mean, if you want to get all technical,
I mean, what
Who's
part of
looking at?
California? Like Northern
SoCal.
California?
Hell no, that's South Oregon.
Mm.
California pretty much ends at Santa Barbara. As far as going north, everything above Santa Barbara is South Oregon. We don't claim them. They're just part of the overall crappiest aspects of California. It all resides up there. Everything Santa Barbara and low is hardcore, man. We don't play no crap down
All right.
here.
Yeah.
Enough
We're
about
free as
California.
no.
We
you
got
never know.
Jacob here to talk about Florida and Florida, Maine.
All right, hold on.
Uh,
I got free. Can we get Tub to do a reaction video tonight? Yeah, we would love that. But then we have a question from our girl Terry Batts, who's also in Florida.
Yeah.
First of all, she says I need to hush it. That's how you know she's beat. Terry has beat people with a switch before. I don't know, because she said hush it. At any rate,
her own family, not other people.
yeah, she doesn't just randomly go around the Publix and beat people with a switch down there in Florida. But who knows? She might. Anyway, you're going on the Are You Smarter Than a Politician podcast soon, aren't you, Jacob?
I'm throwing myself into the fire. I'm with you. I'll go on there. Anywhere, guys. It's just important to talk about this stuff.
Right. So Terry asks, what do you think about Daniel Webster resignation and the new Stop Sabatini pack?
Okay. So Peter Sorge, who founded that pack, is a known pedophile that I exposed in a documentary called Citizen Sorge. Go to peterpedo.com. I've been slogging at this for 2 months. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And then Anthony, who I've worked with before, Anthony, I've written 50 articles about when he was used as commissioner and then gets state rep and everything else. So I'm just not really happy with anybody because Peter Sorge won't admit that he had sex with his boss's daughter, who was 16 when he was 29. Yet he's going to lecture James Fishback about some sort of imagined event. Okay. Sabatini, you have declined to help me in a free speech case that is now over that I couldn't afford to defend because I'm the ultimate grifter. Hell no, guys. If I was, I could have paid for an attorney. So I have issues there as well. But I think Cliff Maloney, who we call it Doors Win Wars, I think is what he refers to
Yeah.
it. And he did PHAs. Look,
He
I've been
worked
rough
with
on him.
Ron Paul, right?
Yeah, I've been rough on Cliff the past couple of weeks, but I'm starting to realize, maybe I shouldn't have been. But ultimately, Mike Wilnow, who has been in that race for a long time, I have advised him and given him feedback anytime I can. And I think with him, I see somebody who is freedom minded and, wants liberty in this state and has slogged through it. He's not ever been an elected official. He works hard. He's got, I think he said 6 kids. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he's still doing this, earning money, running a campaign, a lot like Aaron Baker, who has run for a long time. He just came up short against Randy. I
Fine.
want to knob gobble Netanyahu fine. But and he had the courage to step out again and has been slogging. He goes to events, he goes to the queer, Chamber of Commerce or whatever's that people are willing to listen to him, but he's also out in the community doing gun giveaways. He's he's put in the work, yet influencer Dan Bilzerian, who I also think is hilarious and has done a lot to draw attention to things, he's committed to $1 million to this campaign. He's promised to move to Florida, but he hasn't yet. And he's also collected millions in small dollar donations from citizens across the country. So, what is it, people? I'd rather stick with somebody like an Aaron Baker against Randy Fine and a Mike Wilnow against Dan Webster because they've shown that they don't want the Beef Wellington and Crumpet Party. They're just trying to do their best to help save this country.
So
I would have voted for Joe Hanush in that Randy Fine. Joe Hanush is our guest coordinator on the
Really?
Black Powder podcast, and we wouldn't be anything without him because Eric just does absolutely nothing
yeah,
but just
I
show
just
up
sit
and
here taking
yeah.
notes and commenting. I was gonna say you name dropped a lot of Florida political people here, so I want to just touch base on some of them. I want to one say I'm familiar with Sabatini. I think when I was still a registered Republican, I was following him. I was a fan. He was I was at a Young Americans for Liberty event in Orlando that he spoke at on the lawn. I also spoke at as candidates at the time. Um, and I not saying he's a grifter. I think he does push back against the establishment and he does it fairly well. He's an attorney. He has some epic lawsuits, but not it's not the same as grifting, but he definitely jumped onto the MAGA bandwagon to try to grow his brand and his followers. I think he's trying to take a step back. Where do you say the line is Sabatini a liberty Republican, but is he anti-establishment? Is he not in MAGA anymore because MAGA's pro-war now? Can you draw that line? And I agree with you that I don't like it whenever somebody jumps in last minute, waters down the pool, which I don't know who the establishment guy in that race is with Webster dropping out now. Do you have an idea if there is an establishment candidate in that race? I know there's a lot going on there, but
I
did you
mean,
try to?
you certainly could see State Senate President Jason Broder pop in. He's also been rumored to be considering running for Corey Mills' seat. But with Sabatini, I've known him for, 12 years, and he's always been somebody who has a I don't give a crap attitude. And I think he's been a fellow traveler in the establishment and in the liberty movement, but not because he's double-sided, but because he's trying to figure out how do we get everybody together or get resources here, there, and swamp these people. My core issue with Anthony, and again, I've written 50 articles supporting him over the years, is when I was sued by a state house candidate who lost because I published articles discussing her publicly available court records and how she grifted, stole, defrauded her clients. When I was sued by her a year later in 2023, I survived 5 libel and defamation suits, New York Times versus Sullivan. I've been successful, but at that point, I didn't have any money left. I had about 5 grand to pay an attorney initially. And then the Orlando Sentinel, Long Crime, Washington Post said, oh, Roger Stone's mini-me sued for lying. Okay, then the attorneys wanted 50 grand. They wanted 100 grand. I didn't have it, boys. So I asked Anthony to help me out, and I thought he really would. And he told me yes, yes, yes. And then at the last minute, like he's done with some of the J6ers, it was a no-show and there was no help. And so I got buried. Susie Wiles, James Blair testified in that case, and they testified that their free speech rights, sending out mail pieces based off of my article, were important, justified, and constitutional. But that me writing the article was a form of libel and slander. So therefore, they agree with the individual who sued me, Liz Cornell, and left me holding the bag on a $300,000 legal debt, where the court said Jacob Engels is not a journalist, he's not a blogger, he's not an influencer, he's not a commentator, he is a online troll who's not afforded the rights and the protections of the First Amendment. So Sabatini, you're damn right I was pissed when I see you jump out to protect the University of Florida College Republicans, no questions asked. So I don't know. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I want if I could get to, because I was thinking the same damn thing, Amity. How are you commenting and making articulate points at the same damn time? I don't understand the magic behind that. I want to learn this power. You know,
gosh dang genius, I tell you.
I fancy myself a Star Wars guy, and you know, this is like a power of the Force I need to learn.
So, so the Sabatini thing jumping in, you said there's might be an actual establishment guy jumping that race. Back to the Randy Fine, Dan Bilzerian. Is it Eric Baker or Aaron Baker? I agree with you, and I kind of I know some people back in Jacksonville. If at the end of this podcast we could talk offline, and I'll tell you, I don't want to name drop them here. They kind of like prefer to work behind the scenes now. But they offered to try to help Eric Baker the last time he ran. And I was looking forward to him running again, having a little bit of name recognition, having a good team built behind him. And then Dan Bilzerian jumping in, and you pointing out he doesn't even live in Florida, or at least he's not a resident of Florida and voting in Florida and a registered voter in Florida and all that's required to run for office at the moment. I don't know the deadline. But that's also plays back. I wrote down Fishback. There was a lot of people arguing before that he's actually from New York or lived in New York before deciding to run for governor. Is there any facts to that, or do you want to touch on that as well?
I mean, look, there are a lot of things about James Fishback in the past that are antithetical to where he stands now. But is that personal growth or is that a con? I'd have to believe, after all the statements he's made, that it's not a con, because the things he said are not things you just get to say oopsies afterwards and get back into the political establishment. When it comes to Bilzerian, he wants to do this, and I have a fundamental problem because Aaron Baker or the Joe Farouche or other individuals who ran against Farouche.
Yeah.
He's running as registered libertarian, right? Is he running that race, or he did before? Either way.
Yeah. So,
I
but
thought he was going for state. Yeah.
they were the tip of the spear. They were first through the door. They took all the jabs, all the arrows, and now Bilzerian, who has a ton of money, a ton of power, and no real consequence for what he says, and I'm okay with that. It's his right. But to come into this race and take talking points that I put out there. Nobody else has researched Randy Fine's time as Randy the Rigger at Harvard. They haven't researched how he's involved with 20 different casinos in 8 different countries. And it's not just Israeli foreign interest, it's many, many other foreign interests. They don't want to get down into the weeds because we are living in the influencer culture where I can say something and get some pop, and then people will be like, oh wow, so brave. And you see this even with Sean Ryan, where, look, Nick Shirley, brother, I don't need you, and nor does anybody else, to go on Sean Ryan and say, it was hospice. There's hospice. There's fraud. It's hospice. And the fraud, and it's hospice. And then Sean Ryan is going, holy shit, guys, we're not that stupid. Or Nick Shirley doing the, you know, you know, and there's homelessness in California, and there's billions of dollars that's been spent, and but if the problem gets fixed, then these nonprofits can't exist, because if they fix the problem, then they're non-existent and there's no utility for them. Okay, dude, that's something a third grader knows. But Sean Ryan, whoa. It's a big club and we ain't in it.
Yeah. Well, that's government itself. Government has to justify its existence. I want to get to this comment from my good friend Free. And I think he was speaking in some sort of Scottish or Irish dialect when he said this. He said Joe Hanus is running for the house. He meant to say house, but he did correct it. But I like doing my. I learned that from The Simpsons. From the custodian.
Well, at least he's not declaring that he's issuing prima nocta. Anybody gets that reference?
Well, there's that. I don't know much about Florida politics other than I despise your current governor. I think he's one of the most anti-liberty people we have that wants to run for president, and I put him right up there with South Oregon's governor Gavin Newsom, Newscum, as I myself and Trump like to say. That's the only thing I want to. Maybe there might be one other thing, but one of the things I agree about with Trump is Gavin Newscum is a piece of horse plop.
I'll say this, and I've been very critical of DeSantis in the past. The episode that when I was running for city council, I came on this show and I pointed out, we lost, I'm sure it'll come back. Looks like we lost Jacob.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just didn't like what you said about his governor. But
well, it could be that.
But I was very critical of DeSantis whenever I was running for city council because of the COVID tyranny that happened in Florida under his watch, under a Republican governor, a Republican supermajority House, a Republican city council in Jacksonville, and a Republican mayor in Jacksonville, a Republican sheriff in Jacksonville, and they were shutting down the beach, shut down small businesses, including the one that I worked at. So I was critical of him. Now, I will say this, and I've done this with Trump too. I'll give credit where credit's due. Ron DeSantis stole Lieutenant Governor candidate Jerry Tubb Rohrabacher's idea about ending property taxes. He stole it. He used the bully pulpit as the governor to try to get the property taxes done away with in Florida for homeowners, and the Florida House just passed that legislation. So for all the things that DeSantis was terrible on COVID over, that I was critical of him, I'll give credit where credit's due. He took it and used the bully pulpit and push that football over the, well, I guess not law yet, but they're in the red zone. And if it gets past law and they get rid of property taxes in Florida, I'm going to say he might be the most libertarian governor of all time. And I mean,
Well,
it's a low bar, I know.
I
But
will.
they could go from all right. So during COVID, he was not good, and it affected me and Jacob if he was living in Florida at the time during COVID.
Yep.
To have a Republican governor not step up and open the state up sooner, bars and breweries were closed for over 6 months. Beaches were arresting people. Law enforcement on the beaches were arresting people. Closing down beaches, writing fines, mask mandates. All of that was happening in the free state of Florida. So I get the hypocrisy you're pointing out, Marcus. But I'm just saying, if they abolish property taxes in Florida, that's a huge win.
Well, we had our resident historian and switch swinging, mom beating, telling people to hush it, Terry, coming in the comments said, better read that bill. They aren't eliminating property taxes.
Bingo.
Now,
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to pop
I
in.
stand corrected by the real Floridians.
But here's the thing. In in theory, maybe yes. But when, we hear, oh, Chinese nationals have been forbidden from buying land or doing property in Florida. Well, sure. And that's the headline. But that's only if you're within a certain proximity to a government or military installation. So that's not stopping them from buying up suburbs and communities and apartment complex and otherwise. So that's why we really have to look hard. All I will say about DeSantis is I was freaking peeved when this lockdown happened because I said, you're telling me to support putting firefighters, first responders, police out of job and having no way to feed their families if they don't get a jab. Or you're telling me that I have to hear stories about children in public schools or private daycares having a mask taped around their mouth and just be okay with it. Sit down, get your jab, wear your mask. No, sirree, Bob. But you had people like Rachel Rodriguez actually running for governor who stood up and supported the first responders in Orange County. And I remember we had the march, and it was with We Are Change and Justin of that group. And it was the weirdest thing, guys. A guy who had stabbed me with a hypodermic needle at the Women's March in 2019 was marching right by me, and I looked over and I said, okay. I said, hey man, how you doing? And he's like, hey, I'm sorry about doing that, but this is about medical and health rights and body autonomy. And I said, okay, cool. I won't stab you with a hypodermic needle, but that's fine. We went down to the county building. Jerry Demings, that guy who has about 80, maybe even less than a Somali IQ, and that's not because he's black. That's just because he's dumb as a doornail.
Did he go to a public Florida public school?
Well,
well, that would make sense if he did. I just want to clarify that.
Well, I mean, I went there. I went there too, but
well, you're not the intended product of a public education, so this
correct. But
hang your hat on that.
We grabbed we had hundreds of people, and sometimes it takes a crazy gay, and we got there and everyone's like, yeah, stop this, we're upset. And I'm like, guys, and this is a couple weeks after J6, so I don't know. But I said, guys, they're not going to stop us. We must enter the building now, and we must swamp the entire commission chambers. And that's the only way they're going to take us seriously. And they're like, Jacob, no, that's crazy. I got people jigged up though. And I was like, we're marching in. And I had horrible dye job, looked like the jackal, Bruce Willis in that film. And we go in there. We don't even make it past the security. But guess what? Instead of the vote going in favor of extending mandates and vaccine requirements, they voted against it and they stopped it. what a wonder to see, isn't it?
Well, I want to take this moment to tie together my meme where I said only low IQ people can see the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Because in March of 2020, my kids were told they could no longer go to school. Then we had Operation what was it?
Warp speed.
Warp Speed. Okay, and that was sold as the miracle cure for COVID. Trump lost that election, and then don't shake your head. And then Biden comes in, and he uses the lockdown that Trump started. He uses the vaccines that Trump championed, and he put both of those things on in another hypodermic needle that also contains steroids and magnified that shit beyond what any American could possibly comprehend with government seizing power. More so than it did after 9/11, more so than it did when the war on terror with FISA and all that stuff. The government said, you cannot go to this place right here. You cannot go to church. You cannot go to this brewery. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. And the only reason that the government was able to do that is because Republicans planted the sapling. This wasn't a seed. It had already been, this plan was already in motion.
But you could go where? You could go to the strip club still. You could go to the casino.
I don't have a problem.
You could go to the big box store, Walmart. You could go to World of Beer, but you couldn't go to the local brewery. You couldn't go to the local mom and pop.
No, it basically destroyed small business, which is the economic engine of America that people may or may not overlook. But the fact of the matter is, when you allowed your party to do this because your blind allegiance to your political party does not allow you for any critical thinking skills, and you just automatically default to these people as if they know best, and you don't understand what precedent is, that's how we got to Joe Biden. That's how we got that shit. And now I don't even know where the hell we are politically, because, you know, we were told we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And that's exactly what happened. Wars.
No, now you must be consumed by the idea that there is a 1% of political influencers and grifters that are in control. And because they can just vacillate back and forth, no morals, no ethics, it is wrong for you to even have a question about 1% of things going on. Because if you question 1%, then you must want to eat babies and go to Epstein Island. Because if you stand against the Republicans in 1% of the time, then you are 1,200 million, 1,000% for the Democrats, or this or whatever scheme they come up with. It's insidious, but these are all theater kids, guys. These are people who wanted to go to the big league, and it's politics in DC. It's Hollywood for ugly people.
Well, there was one thing, and I'm gonna pass it to Eric. That first, you know, I'm not a fan of Zelensky, but that first meeting he had in the White House where JD Vance was like, please and thank you and all of that stuff. A lot of people miss this one point. At the end of that meeting, Trump looked over at his guys and said, that's going to be some good TV. And everybody just kind of amazingly overlooked that. And if you look who he's stuffing his cabinet with, because his Surgeon General is also a Fox News, the new nominee is also a Fox News contributor. He's looking for images and TV. That's why you're not hearing what's really happening in this Iran war that has cost over $25 billion thus far. The 6 of the Americans that were killed were at a defenseless base that had no way to stop drones and missiles from hitting them. And we're the United States of freaking America. And you're going to let, first of all, I don't see how a country with Air Force dating back to the one of their main jets they use was developed in 1959, and they have hardly any modern Air Force. They don't have a blue water fleet in the Navy, and they have a respectable ground forces in the army. That's why you're not seeing troops on the ground.
But wait a second. Israel, they have the Iron Dome. They have the best army. They test our military weapons. They don't have any disease. It's just a constant party, and it's because they're so
it's
great.
only democracy. Yeah, if it's only democracy, what the hell was Iraq? When we were like, oh, we're going over there to spread democracy. I don't see how a country with damn near 19th century, mid 20th century technology could be a threat. Nobody over there in Iran is suicidal. You don't see, they do great roadside bombs. I don't mean to offend anybody by that, but that's what they do very effectively. They don't do suicide bombers very effectively. They don't have suicidal tendencies, is what I'm trying to say. Why would they strike the United States first? That is some of the stupidest shit I have ever heard in my entire life, because everybody knows the worst thing you could hear as a citizen of a foreign country is the Americans are coming, because that shit is within 12 to 18 hours where they can have jets over your country and possibly Rangers dropping down at an airport of their choice. This was not a war of necessity.
No, and talk about fiscal conservatism and financial literacy. Okay, great. There's a reason to go to war with Iran. Okay, cool. If we accept that premise. But then why do we have to pay for it? Why is the greatest military in the history of the world, Israel, not able to do it on their own or be first through the door? And then we're told, well, it's just going to be until Khamenei is killed. Okay, then he's killed. And then it's, oh, somebody stubbed their toe and it'll be another 3 days. Just be patient. Okay, cool. And then it's da, 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 da. And that's, well, if you don't do this, then you're fundamentally anti-American. And look, religion aside, believe what you want to believe. But when somebody is saying that the only way you can be a true Christian or Catholic is if you understand that to be Catholic or Christian, that you have to be subservient to Judaism because this, that, or the other. And if you're not, then you're really not Christian, because Judaism and the Jewish people are the real Christians, and therefore, I mean, do we not hear with our ears?
It's a grand misinterpretation. This is where I miss Tubb, because he's explained this a few times as this subject matter has come up, how the state of Israel is not biblical Israel. And it's in, sorry, Tubb, it's in Genesis, Galatians, Revelations. And there's, I don't know if it was John, the book of John, where they broke the covenant.
Yep.
If Tubb wanted people to read the Bible, he should have showed up tonight. That's all I'm going to say.
Awesome. As we start to wrap this up, Eric, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, kind of bringing it back to, first of all, quick answer, or really take as long as you want. How did you get into investigative journalism, and like, what's your history and background in that? Like, how's that work? How do you expose a big story, if you will? Do you sell it to, I think I heard you say New York Times, you name drop them. How's all that stuff work? I don't know.
No, you see, you just have to bum rush people. And that's just the truth. Look, I was a political animal guy, loved politics because I cared about liberty and freedom, and I did the best I could. But when they redistricted John Micah, the longtime rhino, into my old boss's district, Sandy Adams, in 2012, she came up on the Tea Party wave. I was responsible for giving quotes to the paper, writing the quotes, emailing them. And then I would read the next day and they'd say, well, Congresswoman Sandy Adams said that she is too busy to respond to us because she's currently eating babies and doing crystal meth and that's being over the top, guys. But that's what got me into journalism, where I said, screw this. I'm not a writer. I went to school for computer science economics, and I washed out after a year and a half because I got so sick of the the process of, oh, you got to be in class, you can't be remote. Well, it's just a control thing, and I don't like it. So that's what I did. I bought a struggling local newspaper, and that went from very low level to more regional one, and then I got to work with Gateway Pundit and Infowars, but I also went on CNN and MSNBC and all these major ones. And once Trump won, the theater kids and the influencer culture uh, just became more important than having somebody on who's like, oh wow, Jacob, what do you think about the sky being blue? Well, it is blue. Like that was too smart. That was too much. They wanted to hear was, hey everybody, it's me, and this ridiculous performative outrage.
So, and another one, do you remember? All right, so whenever I was running for city council as a libertarian, Dean Black, the former Duval County chair of the
Yep.
Republican Party of Duval County, attacked me and there's recorded audio of it. I think we got a hold of it, and Liberty Dad / the Libertarian Party of Duval County shared it, where he said that essentially I got a bunch of support from Republicans in the county. He was big mad at them because they were, actually members of the GOP there. And he tried to say that libertarians are the worst of the worst, that we believe in like legalizing heroin and polygamy. He said
So
polygamy. And then it wasn't until a few months after that Christian Ziegler, the former chair of the Republican Party of Florida, was in I guess, a legal battle over a rape case that happened between him, his wife, and a third party in a three-way. So that I'm just bringing that back to that hypocrisy
Oh,
that you talked about. You know what I mean? And
it's
do you
it's
remember that story with
absolute Christian
former
Ziegler.
chair? Yeah.
Dude, I started in the Republican Party of Florida GOP in 2007. Okay. I know all these people. Ziegler, look, it's his business to have his little event, even if he wants to have it with another person, consensual sex among adults. What I have a problem with is whatever the accusations made were, I kind of see that being an insider as a humiliation ritual. Who did he piss off? Who did he rubbed the wrong way? But then Christian Ziegler is ousted, and we get some bad actors right after that. And it's all just about control and power. Because now you have Evan Power, Bill Helmick, Aaron Huntley, who are spending party funds to send birthday card to their districts. That's not fiscal conservatism. And I would ask that you look at what happened to George Riley, the executive director of almost 17 years. He, about a year and a half ago, I believe, we just hear, oh, he's missing. He got drunk, or he's here, he's there. And I really believe, I haven't talked to Mr. Riley, but in my investigation into the corruption at the Florida GOP, I see that as something they used to shame him and get him out of the way because he didn't want to participate in the sickness that has gone on. So, I mean, what are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Are we just going to sit here and let the theater kids take control? And if you were in theater, that's fine, but then be an
nerds.
influencer. Then there,
Nerds.
but go on Fox News. Go do that. Don't run for office and claim that you're just, moral, and ethical. Don't run political operations and control the money from the donors so that only you get it and serious people who can win elections don't get it. I mean, we're fighting so many fronts on this war. We just got to keep slogging.
Heck yeah.
Eric, you got anything else?
No, Jacob, real quick, how can people find you, follow you, any websites? Do you still
Can I
own
get my
that,
last stuff? Can I get my
Yep.
last things in
Yeah,
before
but
we get?
I just, you still own any newspapers, that sort of thing. How can we stay in
Sure.
touch?
Look, I still run centralfloridapost.com, and that's had effect locally, statewide, and nationally in the past. But now people want Twitter, they want TikTok. So I guess I'm having to, just swallow my pride a little bit and do, how you have to do the TikTok. Whoa. Oh my God. Whoa. So I'll try and I'll play. And then on X at Jacob Engels, Engels, and on TikTok at Jacob Engels Post. Because I'm done hitting my head against the wall. I'll go and try and play their theater kid game, but I'm not going to sacrifice morals and ethics for it. So we'll see how it is. We'll have fun. And I think I just appreciate y'all for giving me an opportunity and a shot here.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on at the last minute because we had a cancellation and you have reached out to us before and we were working on our, usually we're like 2-3 weeks lead time to get people on, and you came on early and I truly appreciate that. I wanted to ask you in my final segment, where do you see the political atmosphere in 2028?
Well, we can go towards the Handmaid's Tale version that everyone wants. It's kind of dressed up as MAGA America First, but it's the Mike Pence globalism, which I don't like. I would really like Tulsi Gabbard to just come out. Look, you're not going to be able to do Democrat. I'm sorry, Tulsi, but I think you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that she has an immense amount of power and she should try as a Republican. I just don't know. I went through the process with Gary Johnson and trying to get on the ballots in all of the states in 2012. It took an inordinate amount of money, and he raised the most that any libertarian candidate has ever raised. He got the most votes at the end of the day. But if somebody doesn't step up big and finance a libertarian candidate or a third party candidate, then you have to choose. And is it Republicans or is it Democrats? I don't know, because the morals and the ethics and stances, it seems like they're different every day. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. You'll have to be in suspense. But we just need to keep, putting our heads together and figuring it out, because I don't know the solution right now.
Yeah,
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, I said this publicly here and on the X. If Thomas Massey runs for president as a Republican, I would temporarily join the Republican Party and campaign on his behalf here in North Carolina. And you just put up Massey Amash 2028. It'd be kind of crazy though if Amash was the Libertarian candidate, Massey ran as the Republican candidate. Say he doesn't get it, then we got somebody great as the Libertarian candidate, because we all know it's an uphill battle inside the Republican Party for Massey. But he's also shown he can raise 10. I don't know if he's raised 10 million over the whole for a congressional race. He's raised a heck of a lot of money. So Thomas Massey can raise the money. Now, the worst case scenario for this country is Thomas Massey losing his primary for Congress, because that shows that there's no hope for any congressional district to get a liberty-leaning Republican elected. But that might be the best case scenario for the Libertarian Party, because Thomas Massey could run as a Libertarian if he's not reelected to Congress, and he would break records in votes, money, spending, and he already comes with a Libertarian background, just formerly Republican, a lot like Justin Amash. So that's
Yes.
my
it can't be
the
Austin Peterson. It can't be Austin Peterson,
No,
because
it
he's
can't.
squishy on guns.
Exactly.
And you know what? How about this? We can't resurrect John McAfee, but we can take his wife, who's become actually really freaking vocal in the past year. And how about that? We'll do Massey McAfee. She's a black woman. She's former prostitute sex worker, but hell, I think her experience going through what happened with her husband, her lover, is a huge touch point right now. I mean, we're talking about surveillance, we're talking about FISA warrant taps, we're talking about your rights being taken away, globalism. I mean, what could be better?
We should get
I
her on
would
this
love-
podcast because she wouldn't be the only former sex worker on here, and it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say
It's
it's
tough,
one of my other
everyone.
hosts.
It's tough.
Well, it was only one time for me. It was only one time for me.
Anyways,
Hey,
$20 is $20. That's all I'm saying. No, So, well, like back to that though, like I want the libertarian candidates to be heavy hitters, people that are in the mainstream, the political conversation right now. And I don't know that like Amash right now is, but he has pedigree and he has experience. But like
Guys.
Afro Man, for example,
Oh
is
my
being
God.
he's even considering it. And even if he doesn't get the nomination, having him at convention running would just get the attention. I'd like to see our guy Lars reconsider because everybody knows, in my opinion, Lars Matchstead was the best guy last time. Bring it back, run it back. And all these people, if you're not the president, vice president, volunteer for the campaign and
Sure.
let's boost it. Let's boost it.
Well, what about this, guys? There's also one last thing I'll say about this, and I think he'd be a great guest on the program. Old friend of mine, Augustus Sol Invictus. Is he a little wild? Yes, he is.
I'm going to draw the line there. That's going to be a big no for me.
You don't have to have him on. You don't have to have him
We
on.
can talk about him.
Talk about him, but let's talk about the point that he really had some very strong ideas. The goat blood and the sojourn and all that other nonsense. Not my style. But in terms of free speech, I remember after Charlottesville happened, I said, why is nobody having anybody on, no matter what they did or what people believe they did, and just sitting there and asking them a question and letting them respond? Because that's true discussion, dialogue, and free speech. And so I did that with him. And he believed what he said. It was not my business to make a judgment. But there's no decency in this country anymore like that. Look, you don't have to like someone, but now you can have a Laura Loomer who is a good
Larry.
friend of mine. Larry, well, I talked about the enlarged nether region and stuff on Stu Peters last night. I don't want to terrorize or terrify your guests. I think that's inappropriate. But she's
Bye,
allowed
Terry.
to just make an utterance and have change. Another person make an utterance and have change. We're not dealing with serious people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to be able to laugh at ourselves. I laugh at Free all the time, especially when his picture pops up on my X feed. And that makes me happy. And I laugh at Tub too when his picture pops up. That makes me happy. And I don't mean to laugh at the less fortunate, but you have to have a grand sense of humor sometimes to understand what America has become. And that's why I asked about 2028, because I have very little as far as expectations of that's I'm about to get sued.
Well, I'm the great one. Mark Levin, the great one. No, we're all going to be dead if we don't get this done right now. There won't be any 2028. I'm Ben Shapiro. Like, come on, guys. Let's fight together against the bad people, not amongst ourselves.
I want to personally thank Ben Shapiro and Randy Fine for protecting us from Iran, because God knows they were within minutes away from developing a nuclear bomb that was going to be large enough to possibly sink the continental United States halfway into the Atlantic and halfway into we would have split right down the middle, just sunk and wouldn't have existed anymore if they hadn't stepped up and got our president to go to war for us.
You make a good point there. I don't agree with getting into this war and, almost getting vaporized if we didn't. But Randy Fine, whatever the dude wants to land on, and he's been consistent, and it is bombastic. It is not politically correct, but he just keeps going. So believe what he says or not, or agree with it or not. There has to be some amount of respect for that, because like anybody else doing that is getting the treatment that Massey is getting. But I think maybe we have to think about why Randy Fine isn't being regulated and controlled in the same way for
no idea.
Daring to use potty mouth a little while.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just want to say there's a lot of APACs that are out there doing a lot of political stuff. You can name any APAC you want to. when it comes to certain things, there's one pack that pretty much has a stranglehold on America. And with that being said, I guess I'm not getting my $7,000 for this episode.
My
No?
check still hasn't cleared.
I mean, I've been waiting for it too for many years, and Dr. Michael Rechtenwald at Azapac, I was on a show with him 7 years ago when I released a book of mine, and he was a liberal NYU professor who
He's been on here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was like the weirdest thing. I'm sitting there and he starts talking, and we were both bullshitting with Milo that entire show. And I was like, well, TPUSA, it's a joke. And then he's like, yeah, it's this. And it's like, not that we told the future, but we just thought it was okay, funny. And then we left. And then we are all witnessing what's going on right now. And we're like, crap, I guess we should have been louder and more consistent. But he's amazing. He does not give a crap, and it's beautiful because they can't say, oh, he doesn't have pedigree, he doesn't have degree, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that. So now they just have to be like, oh well, he's racist or he's this. Well, no. Well, how is he? Oh, just be quiet. If you're even asking the question, you're a bigot too. It's exhausting.
Yeah, Eric's a big Milo guy. I come to find out.
We were just talking about that. I think he's pretty funny.
Oh, darling, please tell me, darling, Tim Pool, Tim, tell me why Benny Johnson left his wife at 3 sasses in a row. She's down in the lobby while Benny's up there with boys, Tim. Oh, brother Yiannopoulos, that was pretty hilarious.
All right. Do you have a closing statement? And Eric jumped the gun because that was like 20 minutes ago where we asked for how people can find you. Damn it, Eric. Gosh darn it. Sorry. So you once again you have a closing statement, and once again how people can contact you or look you up and all that good stuff.
Closing statement is this. Speak your mind, folks. Don't back down. Do what you want to do. Don't hurt children. Don't affect your neighbors, and just live your life. It's pretty simple. You can find me on X at Jacob Engels, ENGELS, and on TikTok at Jacob Engels posts. And that's about all I can say. I don't need money. I don't want grift. I'm a little bit in the Joker stage right now, and that's the best I can do because I see the young men and women getting involved in politics, and they're being convinced that it's all about, they need another suit, or they need another some sort of post that gets enough retweets to go to the next turning point or go to the next CPAC, and that's not what life is about. So worship who you want to worship, love who you want to love, and just try not to hurt children or take other people's rights away, and be a normal human. And I think that's about all we can do right now.
And vote libertarian. Eric?
Yeah, no, that's nice meeting you. This was a great podcast. And I second that point there, Marcus. Vote libertarian. Jacob, this was great. Had a lot of fun.
I had a great time too, guys, and I appreciate you. And look, why don't we ring the Libertarian Liberty Bell? It's from University of River Falls, Wisconsin, but wake up, people.
Thank you very much, Jacob. I want to send shout outs to Joe Hanush. Like I say, he's our guest coordinator, our long lost extra host, our Tub. We miss you. I love you, man. I wish you were here because you'd have loved all the anal stretching that we did tonight on this podcast.
We talked about. We didn't do nothing.
Hey, we're just here for the victims who got anally stretched. We're not involved in it.
That would be all Americans who vote for the duopoly, in case you didn't know. And with that being said, this has been the Black Powder Podcast. As we always say when we end, live free or die.
Victory or death. See you guys.